Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition, wow, of Artist Alchemy. I'm already stumbling over my words. It's going to be a great night. Maybe I should have written them out first. Oh, and that's a comment on our subject today. We're going to be talking about the wonderful world of journaling. Yeah, that thing. I don't do much of it. I don't know much about it, but I am here to help facilitate with our wonderful friends who are journaling experts, in my opinion, because, I mean, they do it. So we're going to go around. We are waiting on one more, but we're just going to start right in. And when they pop in, in fact,
they are.
We have a London. We're going to pop London in right now. We both tried to do it.
Same time.
Oh, there it is. Hello, London.
Hello.
Hello. Okay, great. The panel's all here.
We're here.
Party panel. Thank you for joining us, London. I know you're rushing straight from work, so we appreciate you being here.
Oh, no worries.
All right. Well, we were just about to do some introductions, so let's get started on that. I'm going to start on my... I can do this. Nope, can't do it. Okay, on my right from the camera, Shawntay.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shawntay, as Alex just said. I am part of the YubaSutterArts&Culture team, and I'm the one that put this panel together. I'm really excited because journaling does not get the appreciation it deserves as an art form, so I'm excited to talk about it.
Me too. That's, yeah. For reals, though. Let's jump on down to Kathy.
Kathy Childers. I've been journaling probably since I was a teenager, starting with a diary and just kind of changed things as time's gone by.
Love that. Yes. Some great journaling experience there then. And then London.
Hello, everyone. My name is London. I currently live in Missoula, Montana, where the weather is getting nice and warm, but not too warm. My journaling has always been a bit sporadic, but it always helps me gather my thoughts and, get organized in times of need. So I really appreciate it.
Yes, I love that. So, and for those of you who don't know me, I'm Alex Cesena. I will be the moderator for this Artist Alchemy. I have no journaling experience. And as I was saying earlier, if I was actually journaling, I would probably end up falling asleep. Just because it's just not my thing. But I'm really excited to learn about it. Because, as I was looking at, the pictures that Shawntay sent, and, I'm getting hype about it just because, there's so many different, little aspects to it that are so cool. So, let's just jump right in with our first question here. Can we get a brief description from everyone on what type of journaling you do? It doesn't have to be, super in detail, but just, kind of a general idea in layman's terms for the non-journaler here. Let's start with Kathy.
Oh, well, I do what I consider art journaling, and I will take a page that's in an art, like an artist notebook kind of, and I will journal there, and I'll go horizontally, then vertically, or as much as I need to over it. And so you can't end up, it's for me more than anything. And it could be personal experience. It could be an event. It could be a quote, something that evokes a response that I want to do. And so I write about it, and then I collage on top of it. And the collaging relates to what's underneath. But if someone else was to look at it, I mean, the title would probably give them some clues, but they wouldn't know everything about me that's there underneath. I would know, but they would not. So it's very private.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I love that. It's like creating your own little secret language in your own journal.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a hidden meaning. And if you have it in your possession, if somebody was, to have it, then they would have really a very personal part of me.
Wow. That's great that you can put yourself on the page like that and display it in such a way. We'll have to get some more descriptions. I think we have a couple of pictures of something similar to that in our slideshow. So if you see something and it's what I do, shout out, because I'd love to get a image in my brain. London, what type of journaling do you do?
I do two types of journaling. Usually if I get really busy and I have a lot on my plate, I start
Mhm.
journaling all the things I need to do or planning, but I usually write it down. I usually don't write in an actual planner. I usually write down in like on blank pages, all of my tasks, whatever my goals are, maybe some inspirational quotes in there. The other kind of journaling I do, which is very sporadic, and it's funny is I don't even really keep it all together. It's
Hmm.
usually just on bits of like pieces of paper or notes or notes on my phone here and there. Will just be like my existential thoughts that I have throughout life, I guess is a good way to put it. And
Hmm.
so, sometimes I'll be having a moment, somewhere, and I'll write something down and I'll stuff it into my backpack or I'll save it on my phone. And then 7 months later, 2 years later, 4 years later, I find something and it's just like, oh yeah, I was having this moment. And it's kind
Hmm.
of it's like a surprise almost.
I love that.
I
So
don't
yours is
I don't
more.
oh, sorry,
Oh,
go ahead.
you can. No, you go first.
Honestly, it's like I don't do it on purpose. Like it's like I feel like I'm hiding it on purpose. It's just like in those
Yeah,
moments when I need to write things down, and then
it just
yeah.
happens. I love
Mm.
that. So yours is definitely more word based then.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So already we're starting to see some differences here, which is
Mm.
amazing. I love that. Okay.
Yes.
Shawntay, what about you?
I do a type of journaling called bullet journaling.
Okay.
It's gotten quite popular over the last like 5 years or so. It seems to have gained a lot of traction on YouTube and Instagram and the like. But what it is essentially, it's kind of equal parts planner, diary, written meditation, and art, just kind of all mished mashed together. And it's kind of the whole purpose of it is just being mindful as you are trying to be productive, in terms of where you're investing energy and time into your day and into what tasks you're doing to contribute to a bigger picture. So it just helps streamline everything for me because I'm the kind of person that will write everything on sticky notes and then just have a drawer full of sticky notes, and half of it is nonsense to me. It's just scribbles. The other half will never get done because it's all in this forbidden journal in my forbidden drawer in my desk. So the bullet journal system has kind of allowed me to collect the chaos of my mind and put it in a place where it all kind of makes sense.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I love this so much already because I've learned about 3 new types of journaling when I literally thought there was the one. So literally in my brain, I was ready for everyone to just be like, yeah, I wrote about my crush today in my journal, and like I have a lock on it, but my little brother keeps breaking it, and like
I
that was
had one
my
of those.
vision. Yeah, but that was like literally my vision of what journaling was. So
Yeah.
already we're diving in, and like there's a whole world that I didn't
Oh
even know
yeah.
existed right now, and I'm
Oh, for sure.
loving it. Super excited to hear more about this. The next question though is because this is an art show, right? We're YubaSutterArts&Culture, and I definitely want to touch on that. How is journaling art? What makes what you do specifically, because we're all doing different types of journaling, what do you think makes your journaling, your style of journaling art? Let's start with Shawntay on this one.
This is kind of a hard but also easy question to answer. But I think journaling, especially the type of journaling I do, so much of art is putting a piece of yourself into something you create. And that's how each journal is for me. Each journal is a moment of my life in, a book. So, like a good example, and London will probably recognize this. This is my journal from when I studied abroad. It's
Oh,
super thick. It's full of tickets from different trains and shows that I watched, and bus tickets, and all sorts of images and things that I collected. So, I mean, this is like a 6 months of my life in a journal, and I think the whole thing is a creation. It's a piece of art. Just like any portrait you would see in a museum, I think that everyone's journaling is a piece of art.
wow. All right.
Yeah.
That actually just reminded me, I've actually done something similar to this. I forgot all about my journal,
You've
but when I
already
was
journaled.
traveling, I have. I didn't even think about it really as this because I wasn't the one writing in it. However, it
Sure.
is something similar to that. Like when I was traveling around the world, I would have my homestays, the people I stayed with, they would write in a book for me. just a little note. So, and like that way I can look back on it and remind me of those times with them. I need to find that book.
It's a travel journal.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it as like a travel journal, but I've journaled.
You have. Look at that. You said you were a newbie.
You did it.
Little did I know. I didn't have to put in any work though. I was just like, hey, can you put something in here? Thanks, guys. Yeah.
Hey, so, we all have our different methods, okay?
I chose the easy way out. But let's take a look at the next one. London, how is your type of journaling art?
I think the way that I would, because a lot of the like my thoughts, like it's essentially like my version of poetry. It's my own thoughts, and it's hard to really put into words just because it's usually like short blurbs about moments in my life.
It's storytelling,
and it's kind of I'm sorry. I missed you. I'm blanking on your name right now, but it's kind of like what she said. It's like it's little pieces of myself, And if you had all of these collections of these little blurbs that I wrote, it probably wouldn't make much sense to anybody else, but it makes sense to me. And if you had all these things, you would have significant moments of my life. And I think what makes it art is that it comes out as short form poetry.
I love that.
Yeah. And just to jump on what Shawntay was saying, I mean, she's talking about all these things, all the stuff that's in her journal. If you ever saw the actual what was in the journal, you would be amazed. Like it is literal art, like just the way it's formatted and the way that
there's some
made.
Images. Actually, that I sent Alex.
Shawntay has sent me some pictures, so we are going to take a look inside Shawntay's mind in just a little bit, which could be a little scary. Yeah,
we'll
but it's okay. Thank you for sharing. Right, we're happy about that. So, now you get to share with all of the YubaSutter community. They'll know you. Kathy, what about you? How is you? I know you said collages already, but
well, I mean, it starts out with it's like an expression of my processing like emotions or events, or it might even be something I see, like a TED Talk even, I might hear something in a TED Talk and go, oh, I need to, I have a feeling about that I want to write about. So that I write that. So there's like how I write on it.
Oh.
So you can't really tell what those words are, but then whatever those words may be, I come up, and it may not be the same time or the same day. It may be days later or a week later. And I come back and put a collage on top that relates to what I have written underneath. And typically you can see the edges of my writing on the outside of it. So the writing becomes a background for the collage.
Wow.
So anyway.
I love that. Honestly, I would buy that just as a piece of art right there.
Honestly.
No, honestly though.
It's just my writing back and forth. It's not.
That's what you're saying. But I find it so interesting, and I do think it's very introspective, and like that introspection that you were portraying there makes me forces me to like think about my own words and like the cacophony that's inside my head sometimes. So while you're saying it's not art, I very much like just that piece right there, obviously, but I very much view that in and of itself as something that I would hang on my wall and just like look at and like try to calm the words in my head.
Oh,
so
well, thank you. I'm flattered, very much so.
Maybe I need to start journaling.
Because that's what I cover up.
Hey, I like it.
Yeah. I think it's also pretty inherently deep because it's like you put your thoughts on the page and then you write over it and then you put something else on top of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's like what it's like what everyone sees is something different than what it was built on.
Oof.
Right.
Which is they're going to think it's just paper, right? But even beyond that, it's like what it was built on is something also meaningful, also significant to what you made.
I love it.
And, that's kind of how we are, I feel, as people. What you see when you just look at somebody is one thing. but what's going on underneath is not necessarily what you're seeing. Okay.
Right.
So I'm journaling underneath a collage, and that's what comes first are my thoughts, are my ideas, are my feelings, whatever I decide I'm writing about. And then I interpret it again, what I've written into the collage. So I don't.
Yeah. I mean, your words are the foundation for your art.
Yes.
You know?
It's
I love
all
that.
building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Wow. That is truly wonderful. We do have a question from the audience. Abby, my mom. Hi, Mom. Love you. She wants to know, has anyone ever lost a journal? That would be so sad, but have there been lost pages of mystery and love and lore out there? Let's start. Shawntay, you obviously had a reaction to this. So.
Yeah, no, my first two bullet journals, because I started bullet journaling back in like 2012. So it's been almost 10 years of it. My first two were lost in a move. So they're gone. They were just in like little composition notebooks from the Dollar Tree, but they were my initial attempts. Not very great attempts, kind of clumsy, but still, like, I wonder often what was in them, because with all my other bullet journals, like, I can page through them, but I don't have that access to the first two, so it's sad.
Yeah,
I feel that. London, have you lost a journal?
Oh yeah, definitely. I also had a composition journal. It was it had like it was a Garfield composition journal. It was like purple and had like 6 different pictures of Garfield's face on the front, and it was just full of poetry. And I do not know where it is. It's funny. I was just thinking about this.
It's the worst.
Like last night, and it's something that is coming up right now, because I had not thought about that journal in such a long time. But I think I started thinking about like a poem that I had written a long time ago. And I was like, where is that poem? Oh, it's in that notebook. Where's that notebook? I have no idea. So yeah,
it's painful.
It is pretty sad.
Yeah. Wow. Kathy, what about you?
Like I did those diaries in junior high and high school, and in moves they disappeared. But I was also thinking about, I used to do kind of bullet journaling when I was teaching.
Okay.
In like a planner.
Yeah.
And I do not have them anymore because I threw them away. Because it all had to do with what I was doing at school, right?
Right.
So I didn't think to even keep them until I was listening to this tonight. So, you know, they were just little things like, you know, the list of things to do, what I needed to get ready for an art project, whose birthday was coming up in my class, things like that. You know, what meetings did I have? I mean, they weren't very artistic, but they were just more a list, you know. But I did use a bullet. I did use some drawings sometimes if I'd have it. Okay, if I had it with me at a staff meeting, then I would do some doodling in it. But because I would write it, I'd have it with me
every time. No, yeah. That's memories lost, right? And it's just because you put them in there, and like they are there if you have them, but like when they're gone, oof. Yeah. But at the same time, obviously we've built and we've renewed and refreshed our process and made it better. So that's kudos to all of that. And those journals are adrift in the wind somewhere.
Yeah, I just thought of them more as just like lists of things to do and what was happening with my career life.
Yeah,
this is a huge part of my life.
This is so interesting because it's kind of proving my initial point of how we put ourselves in our journals. And that innately just makes them art because there's so much of us in those. Even just like you're saying, Kathy, it was just like a list of things I needed to do, but still it's your writing. It's who you were in that moment in time. And it's sad to not have those things anymore.
Oh, wow.
And even if you never think about it, you could look back on it and it's what you're saying. It's a memory.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because I actually got to where I used that. It was like a planner. I used that more than I used a lesson plan book.
Huh.
because I had got to where I just kind of knew what kinds of things I needed to do with my kids, you know, and with everything we were doing, our teachers' manuals and things like that. So it got to be where it was more important to me, the kinds of things I needed to get done, for whatever, an art project or whatever, a birthday or things like that. That became more of what I was thinking about, because I could just look at my teacher's manual the night before, or manuals, I should say, because I taught first grade mainly, and everything was there. And then I just pulled it out and I would write notes on Post-its of what I needed to do the next day in the lesson plan book, not the lesson plan book, but the manual, teacher's manual, so I didn't forget something.
Right.
So it's just different.
Mm-hmm.
Very. And you know, it's just so interesting too, as we're talking about these things and how like personal and like very akin to art they are. I do take note that like history, what we have of history is people's journals, you know, so somebody could find your journal someday and find this slice of life in and of this time, and see what the thought process was of someone who lived in 2020 when the pandemic hit and stuff like that, you know, like different things that were happening there. So I think we're not only creating art, we're creating history. And it's just very interesting. You know, you never know when this might pop up in the future. You might not be around to see it, but
that's true. It's a good point, Alex.
It just popped into my head. I was like, Diary of Anne Frank. That's a journal.
It's true. It's so true.
Wonderful though. I love these insights. But let's talk about a little bit about how we initially got started on all of this, right? Because either you learned it from somebody or you saw somebody doing it. It's not just, I mean, if you just had the inclination to like pick up a book one day and say, this is empty, I'm going to fill it. Kudos to you. But I think we all had a point in time where we were just kind of like, oh, this is a good thing, and where that kind of came from. So let's start with London this time. When did you start journaling and why?
I probably started journaling in middle school. That sounds about right. It sounds pretty angsty, right? Middle school. And it's just, I don't know. I mean, I grew up as an only child. Not very many friends. You're always home alone. And, you know, kids have overactive imaginations, which includes, especially for me, just having a lot of thoughts and ideas rattling around in my head. And, you know, a place to put them down is just on paper. And I was always a very good writer, and good with my words. And so, you know, I would write about love. I would write about true crime documentaries that I saw on television. I would write about church. I would write about all these different things. And back then it was just like, you know, page by page. Usually it was poetry. Sometimes it was just, like I said, it's kind of like excerpts of whatever was going on in my life. Yeah. And back then I didn't really think about it as journaling. It was just kind of me just writing my thoughts down. I think back then I was like, journaling is like, I don't know, dear diary or dear journal. Today is, I don't know, March 35th.
Yeah.
March 35th.
That's what I thought journaling
was. And, you know, that's kind of where I got started. And then it kind of turned into like what it is now. But yeah.
Very, very cool. Love that. Getting that teenage angst out on paper.
Probably helped.
I have feelings.
Yeah.
Kurt Cobain is everything.
Oh, I knew those people.
Yeah. What about you, Kathy? When did you start and why?
I'm thinking junior high or sixth grade, somewhere in there. I got probably a diary for Christmas or something. And so I did that for a few years, and then kind of did things sporadically in the same way, maybe in a notebook or and I've done travel journals before. I write down things about what I've done. And then this last year, I was accepted into the mentorship program through the YubaSutterArts&Culture with Tina Linville. And I was doing collage, and then I stumbled upon journaling with collage. She actually gave me a book about journaling, and I did some stuff with it and thought, oh, I need to figure out how to do that. And then I just happened to find a video where somebody was doing that. They were journaling underneath their artwork. And it wasn't necessarily collage. So I was like, oh, that looks really cool. Let me try this. And I just like, I love it now. It's some days I do one and then I don't do anything for maybe a week, because nothing comes up that I feel I am pressed to write about and collage about. And then I think of something and there I go. So
that's awesome.
We take care of our grandson. So sometimes I just 3 days a week. So I will do a little bit and then I'll need to do something else with him. And so I'll leave and come back to it. And sometimes that's a good thing because I think of other things for either the journaling or the collage that I want to change or make a little different. So anyway.
Yeah. That's awesome. All right. Love that. Shawntay, same question.
Yeah, pretty common theme. It seems like a lot of people start in middle school, because I did too.
So many feelings. Y'all had
so
feelings
many
in middle school. You just need to let them out.
It's the time for that, So, and I mean, just like, so many people, it's an awkward age. You feel very alone. You don't have many friends. And so, yeah, I started with a diary, same as Kathy. And kind of on and off through high school, I had one, but I always kind of fell off the wagon with it. The entries would get shorter and shorter until I would just stop. I have many finished and unfinished notebooks laying around. But I really started getting more into it, and it became more of a daily practice with bullet journaling, probably around 2012. Just because I could not for the life of me remember anything unless it was written down on paper. I tried all sorts of digital calendars and planners, normal planners. None of it worked. It wasn't enough for me. It wasn't flexible enough for me. So that's a big reason why I started journaling. I would go to sleep at night full of anxiety with I have so much I have to do tomorrow. And that was my thought process the entire night. But with bullet journaling, it's well, all of those thoughts are now on paper. I'll just look at it tomorrow, So that's a big reason why I needed to quiet my brain down.
I love that.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that kind of brings me up to my next point that I kind of wanted to talk about.
Sure.
What you said, it releases your anxiety and stuff like that. What are obviously these are moments that you feel inspired about, but what are the other benefits? Obviously just happiness can be one thing that you're putting onto the page, but there's so much more to that. What benefits are there for you in your journaling? Let's start with Kathy on this one.
Well, it does help with stress and anxiety. And when the pandemic began, I was still teaching. So I had to suddenly learn distant learning and our virtual learning, or however you want to say it. And somebody gave me a journal about gratitude to put in every day. And it had little prompts. So that got me started, because I hadn't done it for that kind of stuff for a while, except for at school, like I said. And I started doing that, and that helped a lot. And then once school was out, which I retired that year, and I started doing more of the collaging, because that was when the mentorship program began, and then it's just taken off from there. But I find that even in the pandemic, there are times I might remember something and I'm oh, I need to kind of deal with this feeling and kind of get it out, but I don't really want to talk about it, so I just write about it. And or I remember, actually there's something right here with I found a picture and I was oh, this reminds me of the time when I went to school in Wyoming, because I went to Laramie and Cheyenne. I graduated from Laramie High School, and I was oh, I need to just remember all those great things that happened during that time, some of them. And so I wrote them all down, and then I collaged it on top. So just, I don't know, it depends. It helps a lot just to, I don't know, make sense of things sometimes.
Yeah, I get that. That's awesome. Wow. All right. This is very good for me. I'm gaining a lot of insight. I might be journaling tonight, guys.
Yeah, you have
There might
three
be some
experts
inspiration
here.
happening, right? There might be some inspiration happening. London, what about you? What benefits do you get from journaling?
I think it's all about catharsis
Hmm.
and taking stock of what you already know, and like Kathy said, making sense of all of it, right? Because I don't know if you've ever done like tarot cards, but like when you do tarot cards, it's not necessarily like telling you your future or telling you your destiny, right? If you do it, like it's really telling you a lot of things that you already know and just putting it all into perspective with the different aspects of your life. And I feel like sometimes we have so many thoughts in our head and we get stressed and we get overwhelmed about different aspects of our life. And with all these thoughts running through our head all the time and being worried about everything, and not only being worried about whatever we're worrying about with the specific situation, but worrying about everything else that's going on in our lives, to be able to put something onto paper, to be able to make sense of it in whatever way you can, whether that's with words or with art. It's taking what you know to be true about your life and making sense of it in a way that you can accept it in a way that you can move forward with it or move forward without it, depending on whatever that is.
Right.
It's just about, I think it's just a lot of catharsis, understanding, releasing, acknowledging that energy and that emotion that you have in yourself, without just letting it sit in your head and rattle in your head for, days on end.
Love that. That is wonderful.
Absolutely.
Love catharsis. Can't get enough of it. Shawntay, you're up.
Yeah, I mean, very much going along what London was saying, I think oftentimes we get so caught up in focusing on, hyper-focusing, I should say, on one part of a big picture. Like for many of us, we go to work and that's our life from, 8 to 3 p.m. or 5 p.m. every single day, Monday through Friday, and we forget to just be people, at the end of the day. And so being able to kind of compartmentalize different facets of yourself, journaling helps a lot with that. It helps you just understand not just, what you're doing with a singular task and how it's helping you in one part of your life, but with journaling, you're able to take a step back and look at the big picture. Why am I doing this task? Well, to help me in this area of my life. Okay, but what is that doing for that area of your life? Well, it's doing this, and that area of my life is also assisting me in the big picture of who I am. So it's just, it gives you a way to kind of access that line of thinking. Because I think a lot of people, the rat race, everyone gets caught up in things and you lose yourself a lot. And so journaling just helps you be mindful and intentional with where your energy is going.
Yeah. Love that. Love all of those. Benefits appear to be endless.
Yeah.
So if you're listening right now, start journaling because you're going to find something out of it. Yeah. I'm speaking to myself mostly when I rewatch this video. But we are kind of at the halfway point right now. And I want to just show our audience members what we're kind of talking about. Right. So I'm going to show off, Shawntay shared some images. Again, thank you, Shawntay. You are bearing your soul in and of this moment. We are going to take a look into Shawntay's journaling. So obviously these are a few of your journals. We can see dates on the side, right?
Yeah, you can see years. So one is 2014 through 2015, and then the rest are pretty much yearly. Okay. So you get a new book every year. About, yeah.
Okay. Do you like plan ahead and like treat yourself to a new book?
At the beginning, I didn't. I would just get whatever was cheapest because I wasn't really interested in investing. But now I do invest some money into this now because I've stuck with it long enough now where I don't feel bad about spending, $40 on a really nice journal, or, really nice pens. I don't mind doing it anymore. So, yeah.
Everybody loves a good pen.
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't love a nice fresh journal?
Oh,
Right?
that too. Fresh paper, nice pen, nothing like it.
Yeah.
So what are we looking at here?
So this is kind of where I go when I want to get inspiration for a different kind of font, or if I'm looking for something like a nice header to use on a certain page. Just because I can't keep it all in my head straight, so I put it down on paper every single time I get a new journal,
Okay.
just so I always have something to refer to later when I want to switch things up a little bit.
Okay, very nice. You have like a key
I
in the front of
do.
you.
Yeah.
And so this is this is like a calendar, obviously in the
Yes.
journal, but this isn't like the main part of the journaling, right?
No, this is just kind of the overview of the month.
Okay.
It's called a monthly in the bullet journal system. So
Okay.
it is very self-explanatory. It's just a snapshot of what's happening that month, a few of appointments, events, holidays, and then I added some stuff for, different budgets I have for traveling and things, major goals that I want to accomplish, bills that are upcoming that month. Because once again, if it's not on paper, I'm not remembering it.
Traveling goals in February. This must have been 2020 then.
It was.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
I was
was.
it had to have been 2020 or before because
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
Oh, wonderful. Well, great things to think about there. But this is where we actually get into what your journaling pages look like, right?
right.
A
Yeah.
little bit
This
more
is
collagey like this.
much more
Collage-esque.
collagey. Yeah. And these are so interesting because it honestly is just whenever the mood strikes me. It doesn't
Okay.
always happen. I sometimes will force myself, but I don't always create the best when I'm just forcing myself to do something I don't really want to do. But this one was just because I saw that photo of the tree against the blue sky, and I really liked all the white, and so I was like, you know what? Let me throw together like a black and white based collage. And that's what I did. And I put this quote that had been floating around in my head for a while there as well. Probably can't read it because my cursive is terrible, but it says, "There's a difference between speaking for the hurt part of yourself and speaking from the hurt part of yourself." Yeah, so I occasionally will add little quotes here and there because a lot of the times quotes just kind of rattle around for a while and I internalize them quite a bit. So it's nice to have them out on paper.
Yeah. So in this process, is it like, do you have a specific amount of like pages after a certain month that you have to fit everything in, or is just like the monthly planners at the beginning and then there's all the blank pages, or?
Yeah, on a bullet journal, what's nice about it and why I love it so much is that it's so flexible. So
Okay.
it really can be whatever you want it to be. Typically, I do it as I go. So every month, every day, it's just I if I have to use a page for something, I will, sort of thing. It's really nice if you have a lot of different things happening. So when I was a student, my bullet journals were dedicated mostly to my life as a student because that was the majority of my time, and it would change depending on what month we were on. If we had a break, if I was focusing more on other things happening in my personal life. So
Yeah.
it's super flexible that way. I can do whatever I want when I want, kind of thing.
I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, sometimes people need structure, but flexibility is always nice too. I love the rest of these. This is a month by month that we got here going on.
Yes. I think that was 2019. Yep, because it's my
Okay.
graduation there. So
Hey.
yeah, every month I would just pick a photo that I feel represented the month, and I would throw it on the spread. Yeah, it's nice to look back on.
Yeah, I see London in one of these pictures.
Yeah.
Hey, there's London in it.
Cameo.
Hey. But yeah, see, and it's just so wonderful. Like, I see thoughts, I see art, I see everything is just happening, right?
Yeah,
And
this is one of my favorites.
okay.
I did a bit of journaling mixed with because I'm a huge fan of Twin Peaks. I'm a huge fan of the darkness within this show and how it's very introspective on the human condition. And so I wrote a little bit about that and I added that photo next to it. And then on the very left side, you can see my task list for specific days. I think that's January 19th. and then January
like
22nd. So I had specific tasks that I wanted to get done for the day there too. So it's kind of the daily mixing with my thoughts.
I love this. This is a wonderful insight into this. Oh, pink.
More collage. I know pink, and I'm not the biggest fan, but for some reason,
You were feeling
called to
pretty
me
in
that
pink
day.
that day.
Yeah,
February.
I was.
It was February. It was probably, Valentine's. Getting it that time.
Yeah.
I see Cambridge at Bath. Yeah.
Yeah. This is from my study abroad journal there, and yeah, we went to Cambridge and Bath. I think on the same day. Actually, was it the same day, London? You were there with me.
No, that was not the same day.
It was not the same day.
No,
Interesting that I put them together. Huh.
No,
I don't know why.
You were feeling it.
I took photos from brochures that I'd picked up, and I decided to cut them out and paste them into this. And we went to one of the museums, the fashion museums there in Bath. We went to the Jane Austen Center. I don't think that's on here, but Bath Abbey was easily one of my favorite places that we went to in terms of the cathedrals. So I had to put that in there.
Looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then here's tickets for musicals that you've seen.
Yep. That
These
was
are on
all
the
in the
West
West End.
Yeah.
Man.
I also have the
times.
train tickets for Paris and Versailles, as well as the tickets to the museums there. And there's entire pages of just tickets, and I have receipts. I have all sorts of things.
Oh,
she keeps everything.
Everything.
Not a bad thing sometimes.
Right. And yeah, I don't know why I threw this one together. I think I just had a lot of leftover remnants from different things, and I decided just to black out a page and start putting stuff on it.
You were feeling yourself.
I
love
was.
It. I love it. Well, thank you, Shawntay, for giving us that insight.
No problem.
Wonderful to see like the different types. Bullet journaling, you said, right? So that's kind of cool to see how that all works out and spans out. And we got to see a little representation of Kathy's too. With the words, and then London's just pure poetry. Love that too. We do have a few more questions though. As we continue on here, I loved visual representation as I bump my little table here. But let's talk a little bit about your inspirations for journaling. Obviously, we have travel as the thing, or just whatever kind of comes up in the day. But like, is there something that you find that you continuously come back to, or one of those things? What is like an inspiration that like keeps coming back to you? I think is a good way to kind of put this one. Let's start with London.
Well, a lot of my research that I did in my undergrad has to do with race, racism, and critical race theory, and so I'm like constantly thinking about that, like every day, all day long. And so that's where a lot of my thoughts lie. And so I read a lot about that, and then I turned 30 last year, and I heard there's a really good quote I actually recently heard is, a man has two lives, and the second one starts when he realizes that he only has just one. And so like being just introspective about who I am now, what my life has become, where I've been, and the important moments of my life, and like just thinking about those things and the people who have affected my life to how I get, and like how can I improve my life, and where is my life going to go, and like how can I motivate myself to be a better version of myself in the future. Those are things I think about a lot too, and I'm sure that everyone thinks about that, but I don't know if everyone has the mindfulness and the thoughtfulness to actually put those things down, to write them down, to actively think about them. And I think that's important because not everyone's going to be able to improve their life, and it's something that you have to work on. And I think that's just one aspect of that, and that it works out. It works itself out in my writing.
Wonderful. I love that source of inspiration for you. That's so wonderful to hear. I know, Kathy, you just turned 30 last year also. So I think you should go next. What are some inspirations that you seem to keep coming back to?
I think that during this period of time, it's just been getting through the pandemic and there's a lot of different emotions that have happened. Retiring from a career in teaching during a pandemic is an interesting time to retire.
Yeah.
A lot of different feelings because there wasn't closure in some ways, and just different things. Being with our grandson 3 days a week, who's 2, is an absolute joy. And, talking about him and just the changes that all of us are having to experience. I have a piece on my table over here that I'm working on right now. It's not quite done, but it just has to do with spring. And, spring is the time that you have flowers blooming and trees are getting green and leafing out. So we often, people in general, we just think about new beginnings. I mean, it's just been Easter.
That's right.
And so I was just thinking of this journal has to do with 3 things. I did like a seeds of what I want to continue to learn and do within my life. So a lot of mine is fairly personal, actually. So,
hey, and that's, I mean, that's the nice part about this art too. I would say a lot of art that we do is something that we kind of like put on display for people. This is a very personal art. And I think that's a wonderful, interesting way to kind of look at it. I mean, not everyone wants to share their art, obviously, but like this is definitely something that's very, this is mine type of a thing.
Well, and I can share a lot of it because once I put the journaling, the collage over the journaling, the most intimate things I've thought about are not on display.
Right.
I'm showing you with the collage the part I want you to be aware of.
I'm telling you, someone's going to find your journal in the future and they're going to get real introspective with themselves.
And they're going to be like, oh my God, look at this artwork. She even wrote underneath the actual artwork.
I've actually taken pieces out and framed them.
Oh, very cool.
Some of it has been framed.
I love that.
In about 200 years, you're going to be really famous.
I won't be here, but yeah.
That's okay. That's okay. Your grandchildren will see you through. Love that. Shawntay, inspirations.
Yeah, I mean, my own life experiences definitely. I feel like that's everybody. What you live through is a huge source of inspiration. But media is also just really huge. Anything, TV, film, literature, music. I mean, I use lyrics quite a bit. All of that is also just a huge source of information because it can affect your mood so much. Listening to a song that makes you happy can change your mood instantly almost. Reading your favorite comfort book that you've read 100 times and the spine is all bent out of shape. I mean, it can change your mood so easily. And I incorporate quite a bit of that into my journaling because a lot of the times it becomes a tool I use to assist me of getting out of, maybe not the most productive or nice headspace. Yeah. So it's useful in that way to be able to rely on those forms of media.
Love that. Wow. Great inspirations. Wow. Good things to like think about and look at and wonder, hey, where's my next source of inspiration going to come from?
Right.
So let's, we've kind of talked through a lot of this already. And I know we kind of talked about how we all started, but like, if you wanted to like grow in your journaling or like take in different perspectives or something, are there master classes or conventions for these things? Where like, do you gather with journaling people and like, hey, did you write today? Or how did you even find each other to know to do this? Right. So, are there conventions and whatnot out there? London, do you know about anything like that?
I feel like especially with bullet journaling, like Shawntay says, bullet journaling has gotten really big, and I feel like whenever I go shopping for a new journal, there's always someone there that's also looking for a journal, and they are into bullet journaling. I didn't know bullet journaling was a thing until 2018 when I had the pleasure of meeting Shawntay, and you saw the images of what Shawntay's journal looks like, and that's just a fraction Like, I mean, that's what all of her bullet journals look like. Like all the way through. Like those aren't snippets of greatness. Like that is consistent, right?
Wow.
And so like if you're talking about master classes and Shawntay, and I have told her this before. I'm like, if you could, you know, write to a journal making company and say, hey, I could make bullet journals for you and like create different formats on different pages for you. Like that's how good she is at it. And so when I think about Shawntay and thinking about like inspiration for like, where does inspiration come to just do the journaling and learn about journaling, right? The first thing that comes to my mind is Shawntay, because she's so good at it. And like people will look at it and they go, oh my God, this is so great. But at the same time, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort. You know, it's not something that just happens overnight. Like I've tried to bullet journal, and even with my bullet journaling, it's very sporadic. But it's, you know, it's something that you need to be dedicated to if you're going to be on that level. But I do think that there are ways to learn. And she's talked about making videos for people about it, and I think that, you know, she would be a great source for that.
Yes, Shawntay. All right. Got a little endorsement there. I love it. I didn't. You are the masterclass, Shawntay,
apparently.
So if everyone turns to you for the masterclass, who do you turn to?
Oh my gosh. I mean, to be fair, everything London said was very sweet. It does come from years and years of doing this, because I mean, I could show you my actual first bullet journal that I ever did. It looks nothing like the bullet journals I do now, just because over time you develop and understand what you need from it. And so you'll try things, they don't work at all for you. You try something else that works a little bit better. It's just a lot of trial and error. And so over the last, you know, almost decade that I've been doing this, I found what works for me. So of course my journals the last few years have looked pretty freaking great because I've invested a lot of time into it and I know what I like to do. I know what works. But in terms of like master classes, I know of two that I can recommend. One is, it's actually on masterclass.com by Joyce Carol Oates. She's a very prominent editor. She has a masterclass on journaling, but think more like diary style journaling, on reflective journaling. And I've only seen snippets here and there, but she does a really great job of giving an understanding of why it's important. There's also Skillshare.com, which is another huge kind of sort of similar to Masterclass, but there's someone named Amanda Rachel Lee on there who does bullet journal classes specifically. And she also has a YouTube channel for those of you who are like, I don't want to pay money for this. She's always a YouTube channel that I recommend for people who are interested in bullet journaling, because she does a very good job of making it look really pretty, very aesthetic, but also showing why it's such a productive way of such a productive tool to use in your life. So those are the two that I know of. Couldn't recommend them enough, but also, I mean, the bulletjournal.com website from the creator of the system, which is Ryder Carroll. I have his book, actually. I have the book, The Bullet Journal Method. So if you want an old-fashioned way of doing this, the book is a great resource. He does a great job also on the website of just giving an overview of the system and what exactly it's for. I think on the YouTube, they have like a 5-minute video that explains the whole thing. It's pretty comprehensive. So, and it's hard to do. It's a very hard thing to explain.
That's great. Love that. I'll probably be watching that after this.
Okay.
It's good to know. What about you, Kathy? Is your style something that you see a lot of other people do? Is that like a group that you can get together with?
No, I don't know anybody else that does this. I saw it on a video. I think her name was Jenna Bell or something. She's from Australia or she's from somewhere else. And I just happened to be looking at videos at one time and on YouTube, and there it was. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is pretty cool. And she has a site, and I look at it every once in a while. She does like a monthly challenge thing, and I've done some of them, but not all of them. She does more painting, and just it's different than, you know. But and she doesn't always journal underneath. But that's where I saw it, and I was like, this is it, because I've done scrapbooking in the past as well. I thought, actually, this is what I thought. I thought I would be doing scrapbooking at this time, but I haven't really been doing that. But kind of doing collage to me and doing the journaling underneath kind of go along with scrapbooking. It's just a more personal way of doing art, because scrapbooking is art as well, because you have to, you know, place things, and or the way I do it, I can take a week or more to just do one page. Okay.
Hey.
Really into the coloring and the, you know, what colors go together and stuff like that.
That's some good scrapbooking right there. That's much more time and dedication than I would put into anything like a scrapbook. So, hey, I love that. We are closing off our time here. I can't believe it. We've been chatting up a storm. An hour has flown by. One last thing that I want to do, just specifically for our audience, if you've been listening to us and thinking, hey, this sounds awesome, and there's so many different types of journaling out there, I didn't even think about this, but now that I'm kind of listening to it, this is kind of something I'm interested in. I would love to go around and ask everyone, what is a piece of advice that you would give to someone who is interested in journaling, specifically for like a beginner, like me? I'm a beginner. But we'll start with Shawntay on this one.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many resources, especially for the type of journaling I do. It can be almost overwhelming and difficult to start, because you can take a look at some people's bullet journals, and they're just like these amazing artists who just blow you away with what you can do, and you're like, I can't do that. So I guess this is not for me. But I really do tell you that's not what you should be focusing on, because bullet journaling, if your focus is aesthetic, you're doing it wrong. Yeah. So it's not that kind of, I mean, it can be absolutely about how beautiful it is, but that's not the priority. But I always recommend the website bulletjournal.com, YouTube. There's so many people who devote themselves just to Bullet Journal 101. You know, you could type that into YouTube and you will find countless videos. The book that I showed, The Bullet Journal Method, is also great, from the actual creator of the system. Does a really wonderful job of breaking it down. I mean, don't look on Instagram or Facebook, because I will tell you, you will get so discouraged looking at other people's stuff. Don't do that. So that's what not to do. Don't do that. Go instead to the 101 beginners, bullet journaling, things like that. That will give you a good starting point.
Love that. Love. All right, Kathy, what about you? What's your advice for newbies to journaling?
I guess just kind of have a notebook and maybe set aside 2 or 3 minutes a day or a week, or, you know, just a little bit at a time. And you'll find that kind of, I found I was just doing things. And then as I did more, I just got into it more. So I started doing more. You know, just don't, maybe set a goal for yourself, but not a huge one, just a small one.
Yeah.
And maybe start with a gratitude journal, if that, you know, is something you want to do, or a food journal even, you know.
I do like food.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, just starting small. So it doesn't even have to be like every day, like you were just saying, like 2 to 3 minutes a week even.
Yeah.
That's a good place to start.
Because you might find, you write, this is what I had for dinner, but I really wanted this, you know, or something. And then, you know, a few days later, you're like, go back. Well, but guess what? I had that. And, you know, so I don't know. That's kind of silly.
That's good. I love it. It just kind of snowballs a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's a good advice. I love that. London, advice for beginners.
I think my piece of advice would be that you can't journal for anyone else. Right? You're not journaling for anyone else. You're journaling for yourself. So you're not, you know, don't have an idea of what journaling is. Journaling is whatever you want it to be. whatever you need it to be.
Mm.
And so, like, if you're going to go into journaling, if you want to start journaling, journal about your thoughts, your interests, your feelings. Journal about you. You're the main character of your life. It's about you, right? Someone should be able to look at this and see you. It's not about journaling and making someone else be impressed, right?
Right.
About with what's in the journal. No, to even further that, the journal can be whatever you want it to be. And just to like, keep that in mind, right? And so, put your thoughts down, whether that be through words, whether that be through art, whether that be through collages, whether that be through doodles, whatever it is, however that exits your body and then gets itself onto the page, just do it. And don't worry about what it looks like to anyone else or how often you do it. Like, you don't have to do it every day. You don't, it's just let it come naturally and just go from there.
Wonderful. Wonderful advice. I love that. Wow, the hour has flown by.
It has.
An hour of journaling.
Goodness.
You all have something to journal about tonight, I guess.
That's for sure.
No. But thank you. I just want to say thank you. Thank you all so much for coming on today to this edition of Artist Alchemy. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, London. Thank you, Shawntay. Truly, this has been a wonderful time. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to YubaSutterArts&Culture. Shawntay is a staff member there. So if you have questions about journaling, she can either get you in touch with someone if you're like, I need to know more about your style. Or if you need to know more about bullet journaling, apparently she's the expert you need to talk to. So feel free to reach out. And thank you to our producer, Alex Cesena, working behind the scenes. Hi, Mom. And then in 2 weeks, we have on April 20th, David Reed will be back in conversation with special guest Walt Anderson, naturalist, pioneer, ecotourism expert, and author of Inland Island, the Sutter Buttes, and the Sutter Buttes, a naturalist's view. Until then, that is it for Artist Alchemy. Lots more virtual events coming up at Yuba Sutter Arts and Culture on Facebook and at YubaSutterArts.org. Thank you all so much. Stay safe and be well.
Bye.
Bye everybody.
Bye.
Bye.